Hey, thanks everybody for coming. This is Meetup 14 of Data 608. And this is going to be the last subject that we're covering in in the class. So there's technically going to be a meetup there's technically going to be a meetup next week, and I'll be here if you need if you need to maybe it'll just be like a help session, like if you're working on something and uh, you you're not sure about something and uh, you're having some issue, like we can talk then. I thought about doing a class on like different image file formats or something like that, but I don't know. It felt weird. Yeah, having a subject that was covered that didn't really have a homework assignment, and so the semester's kind of ending. So it'll just be a help session. You guys can separately learn what JPEGs are and what the difference between vector graphics and uh, other types of graphics. So anyways, there's going to be no new work. Data Story 7's the last assignment. Officially, it's due the end of next week. If you need a little bit more time, that's probably fine. So this week we're going to go a little bit further into Shiny and talk a little bit more about considerations for making interactive visualizations. And the main topic of Shiny that we're going to cover is how to control the layouts, because that's an easy way to make your app more interesting. It's quite like a deep language, or quite a deep framework, and you can do tons of stuff with it. But knowing the layouts is already enough to get you to an impressive looking thing. So we're going to do like layouts and themes. Um, so the two reading assignments is the Mastering Shiny book, chapter 6. And then if you're interested a little bit in this idea of storytelling and how it complements or doesn't complement uh like a really exploratory visualization framework, like a dashboard where you're just you're looking at whatever the latest data is. The I like the best resource I could find is this exploration and explanation and data driven storytelling paper. It's kind of academic-y, but it's actually okay. It's okay to read. And so I put it up on Brightspace. Um, all right. So, one thing, if you want to go to a meetup, this Wednesday there is a New York Open Statistical meetup. I forgot to put the picture. Um, it's 6:30 to 8:30. You gotta pay $7. Send me a note if you're going, and it'll be on yeah. Check their website. Check the previous lecture notes for the link. It's like an AI topic. That should be pretty fun. Okay, um so far in the class, we've been making visualizations that have our emphasis has been on storytelling using graphics with like a really tightly controlled narrative. So we are making figures that are highly explanatory in nature. So here's examples. One of the first figures I showed in the class, and there's the data display, but there's all of these elements that are explaining to the viewer exactly what they're seeing, exactly the message that we think they should be getting from this image. So there's like this shaded region, the labels, a top line message, etc. And so I would call these explanatory elements, and I would call this an explanatory figure. On the other hand, interactive visualizations, they enable you to have exploratory elements. And that means that you give control of what the reader is seeing away. Um, and so you relinquish some control of the narrative as a result, but you also enable the reader to explore the data in greater depth. And so there's benefits and drawbacks, or there's different you know, I would not benefits and drawbacks, but there's different pros and cons of each approach. I guess that's the same as benefits and drawbacks, but like the approaches are different in certain ways. So when you have an exploratory visualization, um, you give the reader a lot of agency. And that can be great. That can like make the reader trust you a lot more because it shows that you're not hiding anything. You're not just showing them like, a really cherry picked version of the data. Um, so it's great for building trust. So rather than you telling them the whole story, they can sometimes discover the story on their own. They can discover their own story, or they can see how your story plays out in a bunch of different, in a bunch of like slightly different but similar ways. Um, you give them the ability to ask and then answer their own questions. Um, so you know, like you can't, in a figure like this, you can't do that. If there's like, some aspect of the climate that like, could have caused something in this figure, and you didn't think of putting it in there, like, well, you're stuck. That reader's going to be confused, and there's nothing they can do about it at the moment. Whereas if you show them a lot of data and give them the ability to explore it, they can resolve those questions. And so as a result, like you have greater transparency. It's like, it's clear what you're doing, and again, that helps build trust, and it allows you to better communicate complexity. Um, so a lot of times, most things in the world like have a lot of nuance to them, especially things that are complicated. And showing all the data, like, you know, it it lets the user get a feel for that nuance and a feel for that complexity, and that's important. Um, the other hand, when you relinquish control, like things can go wrong too. So, um, when you give somebody like a dashboard with like full access to all the data, oftentimes for them to actually really understand what they're seeing correctly, they have to have a lot more data literacy and domain knowledge than if you like really carefully construct an image for them. Um, and like so like I don't know, a really good example of this would be, let's say you've made a dashboard and you're showing like the ratio of like some numbers, uh like in and like a really good example would be like in your Airbnb assignment. Let's say you made like an Airbnb shiny app, and you were going to show like some metric, like trying to think trying to think what a good example metric would be. um yeah, it could be like, yeah, it could be something as simple as like what is the you know mm, am I going to be able to come up with a good one on the fly? But, like, let's just say like um you know average revenue per like um average, yeah, like monthly revenue per unit. Let's say you do something like that. um then depending on your data, depending on how you like structure your data, if you divide the neighborhoods like really small, let's say you have a few neighborhoods with only a small number of Airbnbs, like, you know, some of those are going to show pretty extreme, they're going to show pretty extreme like revenue, both high and low. And if you're the person using your tool doesn't understand, like doesn't have like a good sense of data to understand like that when you have a small sample size, the variance, like your sample variance is going to increase by a lot, they could get like the total wrong message from your dashboard, or from your visualization, from your shiny app. um And so there's risks like that. It also requires the person who's using it to invest a greater amount of time. Like to really understand everything on your page, like, you have to play around. You may have to play around with the settings and do a lot of experimentation. It's not nearly as fast as just looking at like a short to the point like visual that basically says what the whole story is. And in particular, like, you know, if your reader gets lost, let's say, and wastes a bunch of time, they might not be very happy. And then finally, like, it actually takes a lot more design effort uh, to make like a good interactive visualization. Especially if you want to try to make it stick to a strict narrative, and you have to consider whether the effort to do that is worth it. A lot of times it is. I think that interactive visualizations have been incredibly useful for, like, if you make a good interactive visualization that applies to an active problem, like, uh, people will absolutely love it and they'll absolutely use it. And so you can make a huge impact with this sort of tool. But it does take effort. Okay, so what are some design principles, some basic design principles for exploratory visualizations? So here's an example of a Shiny app. It's the like Pittsburgh non-traffic citations. I'm not sure. So it's basically like, I'm not sure what a citation is. It sounds like not as bad as being arrested, but like still not good. But not traffic. And basically, like, the one good design principle is you have three main things you focus on, and they should be in like decreasing order. So the first one, the most important thing, is you should have an overview of the data be the most prominent thing on your page. So something that gives the big message overall should be the most prominent thing on your page. And in that case, that's that's like this kind of focal visualization. So this is the main overview. This shows the rate of non-traffic citations by different races. Don't know why it made everything blurry. That's Maybe I need to listen to my lecture that I'm not going to give on file formats. Um, and then um, the next thing you want to have, so the first thing you want to have is an overview. The next thing you want to have is some controls that allow, like, if it was a map, there would be zoom controls. Um, if it is data like this, it's filtering controls. And so you have, oh yeah, so this is also the main overview. So these top line numbers too. So like, just, some summary statistics of the data, main overview of what's going on. And then you want to have filters. And so these are controls that let someone take a much finer look into the data. And so like here you could change the neighborhood of Pittsburgh that you're looking at. You could change the gender, you could change the races involved, you could change the age, you could change the date and time, the days of the week. You could there's these little tabs which let you take a look at different visualizations. There's this button that lets you open a map. I can show you, but these controls are kind of like secondary. They're off to the side. So here's the actual page, and you can see, like, there's always like some central main figure. So like, where are the citations occurring? When are people being cited? And so it's always like, there's always this like top, big focal figure, big top line summary statistics. And then, so you have filter controls. And then lastly, you have the possibility to get like all the gory details. And that's like the last thing you want them to look at, but you want that ability to be available to them. And so here, if we click on that, you can actually see like the data of every single citation and all the details. So you can see what, like, somebody was cited for being drunk. I guess that looks like what a lot of these are. somebody dog license. I don't know what that is, but yeah. And so that would be if you wanted to have an overarching design principle, it would be like overview, then filters, then find details. And so find details could mean like could also mean that you have like you have like some secondary visualizations that are smaller, like on the side of the same page that show some additional nuance. It doesn't have to be on a different page, but the basic idea is you should have some focal main thing that the person's looking at. You should have some ability for them to control it on the outset, and then you should have a place that they can go to get like the nitty gritty and answer the questions that they're looking to answer. And then another thing that's important to have is, especially um, when you're having a dashboard that's presenting information, it's really important, and the dashboard is going to be a lot more powerful if you provide some contextual clues to the person reading it. I guess this is true for any type of data visualization, but it's like doubly true if you're not there walking the person through it. Um, and so, for example, like instead of showing a number, sure, show that number, but also compare it to something else so that people have an idea. Is that number big? Is that number small? Is that number good? Is that number bad? Um, is it more or less? And so like a good example, which I took from a textbook is, which I don't know. I actually don't really like these these silly dials, but if you wanted to do it, like this on the left would be insufficient context, uh, where you just like see, um, where you just see like the number, and here on the right, this would be very good context. So you see here, this is the average call length. You see it's labeled, okay, this is where the company is usually at. This is where we're currently at, and this is where the best people are. And this will give you a lot more information, and this would give you a story. Basically, it's a story that would change all the time, but it would give you like that narrative element. Um, and these contextual clues um, really make it easier for the reader of your interactive visualization to construct a narrative out of the data that you presented to them. Okay. So those are maybe what I'm going to say generally about interactive visualizations. I actually didn't find a lot of what I consider to be great writing on this subject, but there is some other writing out there. Um, So now I'm going to pivot and talk a little bit about Shiny apps, and we're just going to go through a little bit of coding and show how to like take a simple Shiny app and add some features to it. And so first we're going to start talking about layout. So this is the first area where you could get a little bit of complexity. And basically you set the layout using hierarchical function calls. It's like a little bit of a weird way of doing things, but basically like here I have a call to fluid page, and this would be, oops, sorry, just went just go to where I'm at. So fluid page, basically this creates like the overall page that the user interface is going to be on, and then each argument of it is going to be another visual element. So if the first argument is title panel, it's going to create a title panel like right at the top, and then I can put whatever I want into the title panel, like the title of my app or something like that. And then I could add like a layout element, like this sidebar layout, and that creates a structure where there's a sidebar and a main panel. Um, and that'll be underneath the title panel. So if I put the title panel like underneath the sidebar layout, if I had it be the second argument, then actually the title panel would be under. And then I can just put like more arguments in these panels. Maybe I'll show that really fast. So here is yeah. So here's a basic Shiny app, and so here I have UI fluid page. I'm gonna run the app. And so here we see like the Old Faithful geyser data. I see the titles up there at the top, and I can just move it around. Like if I like take it and I put it after. I mean, I know you guys believe that this will work, but no, I want it to be like this. Let's just make sure I have the right parentheses. I do not. Is this one right? Now if I reload the app, let's see. Yeah, it's kind of silly, but it puts the title at the bottom. So you can see like how the ordering of the function calls determines the position on a fluid page. Okay, done. Not sure what this is, but I'll get rid of it. Right, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so what are other elements that you could put onto a page? So fluid row is a very useful element. Basically, fluid row creates a space that you can divide into columns. So basically, like a fluid row can take elements inside it that are a certain number of columns in size. So um, basically here I'm calling fluid row, and then I'm going to divide the first fluid row into a 4 width column and then an 8 width column. So I call column 4 and column 8. And then whatever's in these calls, so I could put a figure here, I could put a paragraph here, they will appear like this, side by side with this amount of spacing. And then I could put another fluid row underneath, and I could make them more equal in size. So let's do that with the Shiny app just to see how that might work. So let's see. So here, so in the original Shiny app, so this code started out as the default Old Faithful Shiny app, which is the one that it automatically generates when you start a new Shiny app. But there's another data set. Let me just hit escape. Called, let's see, Faithful D, which is basically like a density plot of the Old Faithful eruptions and waiting times. And so I could make a heat map of that. So here I've done that. So I'm let's add the theme back in. So I like the theme. We'll get rid of the theme in a minute. Yeah, so we're creating a new output variable called heat map. And yeah, so we're just taking we're doing render plot, and then we're doing ggplot of this density variable. And we're using a raster geometry, because that's a good way to visualize 2D data with ggplot, and then we're doing contour geometry as well. I feel like we haven't talked about these two, but you'll see what they look like. And so now I'm going to add a fluid row. So let's see. Let me see how I should do that. So yeah, I don't know where I should put it. I could put it underneath, or I could put it above. Let's put the title panel back. Sure, let's put the title panel up top. And now let's do a fluid row. Okay. And now let's do a column. Let's see. Let's make the column like width 6. And here I'm going to put in heat map. So I'm going to do plot output of heat map. Tab completion. And then like I guess I should put like a column after this. And then maybe I should put another column in. I mean, I could leave it empty for a moment first just to see if this looks any good. Oh, that didn't work. Oh no. Let's see. heat map. Let me, how embarrassing. Let's see. Wonder if I do have to. So I did make sure that this was all working before the lecture, but we'll try again. I'm just gonna do if I just do like some random text. Um yeah, let's do like some random text about Old Faithful. All right. Object. Curious. Okay, that's funny. Row. So this is why when I taught data 607 last semester, I would always make these videos separate because sometimes things go wrong. Let's see. I need let me just make sure. Did nothing else wrong. Main panel looks good. Oh, maybe it's this. Maybe it's that oh, it's probably that trailing parentheses. Let's see. Nope. Okay. Let's try this. Oh, I promise to move on in just a second if this doesn't work. Okay. Just gonna reverse them. It is called dist plot. Okay, so it really hates my heat map. Oh, I wonder if it's because all right. I'm gonna pretend. Let me just try this. Oh, I know. I'm, oh, but that should be there. That should be there. All right. What a mystery. Okay. So I'm not sure what happened to my heat map, but that's what is causing the error in the code. And it was actually working perfectly right before I was doing this lecture. And I think this mystery is gonna have to wait for another time. Otherwise, I'll just be here trying to figure out what changed. So I'm gonna continue. Um, but I hope you can see that like these columns did like create, they basically did create little columns. So like I would get a histogram and then I would get like some random text, and if I like change this, it still works. And I'm not sure like if I misspelled heat map or something, which I don't think I did because yeah, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Okay. All right. So anyways, that's how you create like multiple rows with a lot of different elements. And you could see how you might like start stacking these. And if you wanted to have like a small little plot, um, you could like you could create it using a column as part of a fluid row, and then you could have a bigger plot, etc. So you can you like this system is very hierarchical, and you can continue to subdivide these as many times as you'd like. Okay, so the other type of important layout feature that you can do is something called a multi-page layout. And the easiest way to accomplish this within Shiny is with something called a tab set. And so you can actually do this in your Quarto files too. So here's an example of that. So uh, where I've created a tab set. So here I have some code. Um, and then this is like a picture of what that code would look like. And basically the way that this works is tab set panel creates this little element which has a bunch of different tabs. So on this figure here, do I have to reload it? Let's see. So on this figure here, like these items form a tab set, and then also these items up here are a tab set. And so if you look, um, when I click where are citations occurring, like every single thing about this plot um, changes. So there's like different code being triggered for each tab. And basically, what does the structure look like? So I call tab set panel, and then within tab set panel, I have individual tabs that I define. And each tab is going to have a title, so that'll be the first element. And then you can have the code which generates what you want it to show. Um, so for this one, like the second and third tabs don't do anything, but the first one does. The first one does quite a lot. Um, and let's see how we would do that with our non-working figure. So if I wanted to, let's say I wanted my broken figure and my real figure to both appear within a tab. So then I could go here. Let me get rid of let me see. I'll get rid of this fluid row. So now I could go to the main panel, and I could do tab set panel. I want to see. And I could make the first tab panel this, and I would call it, um, let's call it heat map. Okay. And then I could make the next tab panel histogram, let's say. And I would make it my disk plot. Let's just make sure I have the right number of parentheses. Does it think there's a problem? Let's see. Yeah, I need another. Yeah, so here it has my broken histogram. Who knows what went wrong there? But then um my broken heat map. But then like the regular histogram is there, and I could like add a third one, like um right description would be like Old Faithful is a geyser in yellow stone that erupts periodically. And that would probably, yeah, give us that. And so you can basically like layer in these, you can layer in these tab set panels. Let's go back to our main. Yeah, so another thing that is helpful is that the tab sets can have an ID, so you can track which you can basically track which panel that your user is clicking on using this ID. So this will be part of the input. It'll just be like the number of the tabs that they're currently on, and then you can have your code behave differently depending on what they've clicked on. So you could have like different elements in the page change based on the identity of the input tab set. So for example, here, the 1 and the 2, um, yeah. Well, this isn't quite the same code, but you could have it say current panel 1 or current panel is equal to 2. All right, so another important thing, if you want to customize how your visualization, how your app looks, is to use themes. And themes have the ability to change a lot of the aspects of the appearance of your app. And so there's many different ways to implement themes in Shiny. Probably the most common one is Bootstrap, but there's several others that are specific to different types of applications. So I'm pretty sure that Shiny Mobile is a theme that helps with designing an app that looks good on a mobile phone. Shiny Dashboard is good for making something that is a dashboard. I'm not sure what Shiny Material is. There's also extensions to Shiny that give it some additional capabilities. So for those of you who use Tableau, I believe that Shiny Tableau can allow you to create a Tableau dashboard using a Shiny app. I'm not 100% sure because I've never done it, but if you are working at a job that um, basically requires you to use Tableau and there's something you can't do with Tableau that you'd like to, you might be able to do it with a Shiny app that's in the Shiny Tableau framework. Okay, so how do we use themes? So basically, the example I'm going to go through is the Bootstrap library. So you can call it with Bootstrap lib. And basically the way it works is there's an argument you can give to the initial layout function, which is the theme argument, and you can just provide a theme to it. So for example, if I wanted to turn my page to the darkly theme like this, so I would just put this line here, BS theme boot swatch equals darkly. I would get something that looks like this, and it's just a different look. And then there's other themes, so there's like a sandstone theme, and I can show you how that would be implemented here. So I would basically just go to the first line, or I could do it anywhere. I would just say theme equals let's see, what was the function called? BS theme, boot swatch. Yeah, let's just make sure it's caps. Yeah. Let's reload it and see if it works. Yeah, so it actually works, and I'm surprised it changed my plot theme. Oh, that's interesting. That was the next thing I was going to show. I must have let me oh. Oh. I'm going to turn this off for a second just to show you how it should have looked. So normally if you just change the overall theme, the plots are treated a little bit differently, and you might not like how that looks. So there's an additional thing you can do, which is the which involves the thematic package, and this package basically overrides the default themes of your plots, um, and gives them a theme that corresponds to the theme of your page. And so if you just call the thematic shiny function at the beginning of your server, it'll automatically do that for all your plots. And I'm just a little surprised that this worked with. Oh, it's wait. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. I know what happened with my heat map. It was because I hadn't loaded the theme libraries yet, and so it just wasn't finding it. Anyways, this is the heat map you're supposed to see. I'm glad that it finally worked. Um, but yeah, the point is that you can't use the theme, you can't use a separate theme with thematic. They don't work well together too easily. There's probably a way to make it work, but generally speaking, if you use thematic, then it's gonna set the theme. Um, and you have to like make modifications individually. Okay, so let me go to the next. And there's like a million different types of themes that you can pick on Bootswatch, and then on the other theme packages you can do the same. So like I could pick Cyborg or Lumen, um, and depending on what you want to do, like those are good. And you can also customize. So like I could define this theme here. Let me just do that here. We'll see. I think I would just type theme. And so this basically I specify the font, the background and foreground. There's probably some finer controls, and yeah, I get this the super blue theme. Um, don't like it so much, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the dark theme, maybe. Okay, so let me continue. Yeah, so as I said, the thematic plot like automatically matches the themes of the plots to your app theme. And there's one more thing I wanted to do, which I didn't make a slide for, which is um you might yeah, you might want to know how to create these nice little boxes. So you can do that with Fluid Row relatively easily. So let me sort of show how that works. So I'll just copy the code over. Um, so here, so let's say I wanted to like put some summary statistics in my app. Um, so I could do so. Like I could put like the biggest eruption in the data set. So if I just show you like, so this is a data set where we have the length of eruptions and then the interval between eruptions. And so I could compute like the maximum eruption, put it in my output file, and then actually like I could put rendered text where I like compute a little snippet of text which says the size of the eruption, and then I could do it for the mean eruption, and I could do it for the maximum waiting time and the mean waiting time, let's say. And then if I wanted to put in a fluid row kind of towards the top, so I could do it. Let's do it here. And then I will let's see. Yeah, I don't want to have to type this all out, so I'm going to just copy it. So here I'm using some CSS, HTML stuff to specify what these elements look like. And I'm just going to copy them so you can see, and then we can experiment with them. If I can figure out how to copy them. Yeah, so I can just put these here. Did I do it right? Yep, I did it right. All right, let's hope this works. Yep, I probably forgot a parenthesis. That's good. Yeah, this one needs to be deleted. Yeah, so now this doesn't really work well with my theme, with my blue theme. I don't know why I have a blue theme. The theme should have gone back. Just gonna delete this. Don't even want to. Oh, that's because I did this. No. Okay, I don't know why it's decided that I'm getting a blue theme for the rest of the session. I'll have to figure that out. But the point is I get these nice like summary statistics up at the top. And you can play with their shape by messing with the padding and the border radius. So like if I make this smaller and I make this less, they'll get sharper. And see stuff like that. You get like a little bit less of a gap. Okay. So that's actually all that I have to present. I hope that gives you some ideas for different ways to improve your Shiny apps, different types of visual elements that you can put in, and also like some design considerations. So Shiny apps range from like pretty simple stuff to like basically full featured, like really heavy computation web pages. So you shouldn't let like this example that you go through like in 30 minutes limit your perspective on what can be done with this technology. It's actually quite generalizable. And that's all I have for today's lecture. So if there's any questions, I will take them now.
So when we upload the homework, we don't need to do like any PDF file or anything like that. Just
Yeah, not for this. I would upload the app file. If you did anything crazy like bringing in extra data, which is totally fine, just make sure to like include and explain that. But other than that, yeah, just like the app file. I mean, if you like, you could sometimes you can make Shiny apps with like with the like user interface and the server separate, or you can have additional files. Just upload all the files you need that are needed to run your app, and I'll run it. Alternatively, you could actually host your app somewhere, and if you wanted me to look at it that way, but that's not necessary, and probably it's probably better to just send it to me. But that would be, if you wanted to do something that was like equivalent to uploading the PDF, it would be to host your app somewhere. I think you can host a Shiny app for free on the shinyapps.io site. I just don't remember because I had to do that for some reason. Like I had to make a Shiny app and
Yeah,
host.
you can. Yeah, you
So you
can.
can do it for free.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to do that. And it'd be cool if you did. But you don't have to.
So I have a question related to that. So I'm trying to. So I created the account on Shiny iOS, and then I'm trying to deploy it. But I think there is something in the code that is saying that it's in the Corto thing. Though I didn't started the file as Corto. but it's causing a problem in deploying. So I mean, I was thinking that if
Yeah,
you
so
have expertise in that, I can
yeah, so
connect with
here's what
you.
I would do. Like I would see if you I would try to like first get something that's working, just to make sure.
Right.
Like maybe make a really simple version, like that doesn't even have your data elements, it just has your title and your stuff like that. Um,
Okay.
and just so you have something that's working, and then slowly start turning it into the version that's bad.
Got
And
it.
then you'll see where it breaks, and then
Got it.
that'll be like if it's like a weird if it's a weird error, then
Right, right. Okay, got it. No, that's a good idea. Break it down and try piece by piece.
yeah.
All right, got it. Thank you. And seeing that there's no more like discussions after like the ARC one, right?
Correct.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, I will let you guys go. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you all have a great night, and if I see you next week, that'll be great. Like I'll definitely be in a Zoom room. If you, but I'm not gonna have any materials or anything like that. So if you don't come, I won't be offended or anything. Yeah, so just come if you need to, and I'll talk to you guys later.